welcome to day 6 of Vlogtober. Vlogtober day 6. And you know, the number 6 is a very evil number, so this is why it is a special day, so to speak. But I know that you've noticed that I'm still wearing my werewolf hat. Yes, I am still a werewolf. And the reason why, you ask? Well, the reason why is because the harvest moon, actually the effects last for like the next few days after the harvest moon. The moon appears to be full still for a couple days after the actual date of the harvest moon. So, yes, for those of you wondering, I am stuck a werewolf right now. I'm not sure how long it's gonna last, maybe like 3 or 4 days, but that's what happens when it's Vlogtober. Shit starts getting crazy. And I see that you've made it this far, and I'm really proud of you, because that's pretty brave. I didn't think that you'd make it through all of the horror. We've almost made it a week through all of this horror, and I'm glad that you guys are still here, because I realize that you're very brave souls, and I want to invite you to my own very personal cult. So, you know, I chose all of you guys that have made it this far to be a part of my secret cult. Guys, what's up? And yes, it is Vlogtober day 6 still. And yeah, I know my intro was kind of weird, but it is Halloween and it's for comedic effects, of course. And I thought, you know, since my friend Sydney, shout out Wonton Productions, said that I should make a cult of my own, I thought that maybe you guys could be my cult, like my audience can be called my cult. And I really love that. At least for the holiday season, the Halloween holiday season, that is. And so yeah, I'm just chilling at home. I worked a lot, and then I worked like this morning, and then I came home and I took a nap because I'm really exhausted. I've had a long couple of days and I am a little bit behind on uploading schedule time still, but I'm still doing it, and yeah, we're gonna get through it. Yeah, so I guess I will talk to you in a little bit. Bye. Yes, I am still a werewolf too, just so you know. I don't know if you noticed, you probably did, but yeah, I've been a werewolf this whole vlog. So, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be a werewolf for either. So, tell me what you... Hey guys, welcome back. Guess what time it is? It's time to tell you a creepy story. And today it's going to be werewolf themed because, you know, the harvest moon. And all the werewolves come out during full moons, so may as well talk about some werewolves. And yeah, wearing my wolf hat. Got this for Christmas from my father a few years ago. It's pretty warm, I like it. So I looked up an article, and I'm gonna read it off my phone this time because then I can look at you guys so it seems more personable, and then I'm not just like looking up or looking off to the side. And tell me if you guys like if I read from my phone better, or if I read from my computer, which is next to me, or there's a screen right behind me too. Let me know in the comments. By the way, sorry for falling behind Vlogtober. I worked a double the other day and I haven't had much time to edit, so I'm gonna try to catch up as quickly as possible. Wish me luck. Right now it's 1:03 a.m. and I'm recording this because I know I need to get it finished. So this is all for you guys. Alright, this story is by Stephen Wagner, and this is off of thoughtco.com. In the late 16th century, the town of Bedburg, Germany, was terrorized by a diabolical creature that slaughtered its cattle and snatched away its women and children, killing them with unspeakable morbidity. I can't talk, I'm sorry. The shocked and horrified townspeople feared that they were being victimized by a raving demon from hell, or just as bad, a bloodthirsty werewolf who lived among them. Dun dun dun! It's really me. This is the true story of Peter Stubb. Oh, Peter Stubb. Maybe my bass player's a werewolf. The werewolf of Bedburg, whose crimes plunged a German town already beset by political and religious turmoil into an unimaginable nightmare, and whose heinous murders rival the bloody viciousness of any of today's most gruesome slasher movies. We'll see about that. Okay, so this happened in Bedburg in 1582. Dang, that was a long time ago. I am here from the future now reading the story, keeping the legacy alive. Peter Stubb, also documented as Peter Stube. He has different aliases apparently, such as Abel Griswold, and Uvel Griswold, was a wealthy farmer in the rural community of Bedburg, local in the electorate of Cologne, I don't know how to say that, of that Germany. The community knew him as a pleasant enough widower and father of 2 adolescent children, whose wealth ensured him a measure of respect and influence, so he was well off. He was not a poor man by any means. He was a wealthy wolf. But this was Peter Stubb's public face. His true nature erupted through some black scar in his soul to satisfy a bloodlust. He donned the skin of a wolf. At the time, Catholicism and Protestantism were at war for the hearts and minds of the populace, which brought invading armies from both faiths to Bedburg. There were also outbreaks of the dreaded Black Plague, so conflict and death were no strangers to the people of the region, which perhaps provided fertile ground for the awakening of Stubb's foul deeds. Cattle mutilations. For years, farmers around the Bedburg were mystified by the strange deaths of some of their cows. Day after day, for many weeks, they would find cattle dead in the pastures, ripped open as if by some savage animal. The farmers naturally suspected wolves, but this was actually the beginning of Peter Stubb's unnatural compulsion to mutilate and kill. This insatiable drive would soon escalate into attacks on his neighboring villagers. Oh God, he's a crazy wolf man. Children began to disappear from their farms and homes. Young women vanished from the paths they traveled on daily. Oh God. Do I count? Because, I am a werewolf, so does that mean I get left alone? Because I don't want that to happen. Some were found dead, horribly mutilated. Others were never found. The community was thrown into a panic. Hungry wolves again suspected, and the villagers armed themselves against the animals. Some even feared a more devious creature, a werewolf, who could walk among them unsuspected as a man, then transfer into a wolf to satisfy its hunger. This was the case, although he did not literally transform into a wolf. Peter Stubb would cloak himself with the skin of a wolf when seeking his victims. At his trial, Stubb confessed that the devil himself gave him a magic belt of wolf fur at age 12. When he put it on, transformed him into the likeness of a greedy, devouring wolf, strong and mighty, with great eyes and large, in which the night sparked like brands of fire, a mouth great and wide, with most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body and mighty paws. When he took off the belt, he believed he returned to his human state. It kind of sounds like he might be schizophrenic or something, because I'm sure back in the 1500s they didn't really treat it like they do nowadays. But it could also be a werewolf, you never know. Unthinkable murders. Peter Stubb was a deranged serial killer, and over the course of his murderous career, He was responsible for 13 deaths altogether, children, 2 pregnant women, and numerous livestock. And these were no ordinary murders. The young women among his victims were sexually assaulted before he tore them apart. Pregnant women, he ripped the fetuses from their wombs, ate their hearts, panting and raw, which he later described as dainty morsels. Ugh. Excuse me while I go fucking puke. So disgusting. Small children were strangled, bludgeoned, and throats ripped open with his bare hands. Some were disemboweled and partially eaten. Lambs and calves were ripped apart and devoured raw. In one instance of a triple murder, Stubb saw 2 men and a woman taking a walk just outside the city, walls of Bedburg, and he crouched hidden out of sight behind some brush. He called out to one of the men by name with the pretense that he needed help with some lumber. When the young man joined him out of sight of the others, Stubb bashed his head in. When the man didn't return, the second young man went looking for him and was likewise killed. Smashing dome pieces. Fearing danger, the woman began to flee, but Stubb managed to catch her. The man's battered bodies were later found, but the woman never was, and it was thought that Stubb, after raping and killing her, might have eaten her completely. Okay. At least one child was lucky enough to have escaped an attack. Several children were playing in a meadow among some cows. Stubb ran after them and, grabbing one small girl by the neck as the other children ran away, Stubb tried to rip her throat out, but his fingers were prevented from doing so by her stiff high collar. So, note to self, turtlenecks are good defense against werewolves. Noted. I don't think I own any turtlenecks. He released the girl and fled. The girl survived. It is not known if she or any of the other children were able to identify Stubb. Perhaps his most fiendish murder he reserved for his own family. Stubb has incestuous relationships with his sister and his own daughter, whom he impregnated. He also murdered his son, his firstborn. Stubb led the boy into the forest, killed him, then ate his brains. By definition, Peter Stubb was a monster, yet all the while he remained unsuspected by the townspeople in The Damnable Life and Death of Peter Stubb, written just 2 years after Stubb's trial. And sundry times he would go through the streets of Colin, Bedford, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that, Cperadt, in comely habit and very civilly as one well known to all the inhabitants thereabout, and oftentimes he was saluted of those whose friends and children he had butchered, though nothing suspected for the same. Stubb must have thought himself invincible through the power of his magic belt, yet it was this belief that ended his reign of terror. When the limbs of several missing people were found in a field, the villagers further convinced that a ravenous wolf was responsible, and so several hunters set out with their dogs to pursue the predator. Dun dun dun! So Scooby and the gang are on this. Now here is where the story gets quite strange. The men hunted the creature for days until at last they saw him. But according to the account, they saw and chased down a wolf, not a man. The dogs chased the animal until they had it cornered. The hunters were not sure that they were chasing the wolf, but when they came to the spot where the dog had it cornered, there cowered Peter Stubb. According to George Bohr's account, being trapped with no room for escape, Stubb removed his magic belt and transformed from the wolf to the human form. The hunters saw no magic belt, as Stubb later claimed he had, but an ordinary walking stick in his hand. At first they disbelieved their own eyes. After all, Stubb was a respected long-time resident. However, how could he be a werewolf? Perhaps this wasn't really Peter Stubb at all, they reasoned, but a devilish trick. So they escorted Stubb to his house and determined that he was indeed the Peter Stubb they knew. Thought now to be a werewolf, Stubb was brought to trial, and it was only under pain of torture on the rack that his confessions to all the heinous crimes came out, including sorcery, his consort with the devil, and the story of the magic belt. This fact has led some researchers to surmise that Stubb was in fact innocent, that his wild confession was elicited by the torture. Perhaps Stubb himself was a victim of superstition and religious rivalry taking place at the same time. The fear and conviction of a demon-inspired werewolf might lead people back to the true church. Whether he was truly a serial killer or a politician victim or a political victim, Stubb was found guilty on October 28th, 1589, and his execution was as gruesome as any of the crimes which he was accused. His body was strapped spread eagle on a large wheel with red-hot pincers. His executioners pulled his flesh from his bones in 10 spots. His arms and legs were broken with a large axe. His head was cut off. Fucking brutal. On October 31st, also known as today's Halloween, Peter Stubb's body, along with his daughter and his mistress, both of whom were convicted of abetting his crimes, were burned at the stake. By directive of the magistrate, a warning to other potential devil worshippers was put in place for all to see. The wheel on which Stubb was tortured was set high upon the pole from which hung 16-yard-long strips of wood representing his 16 known victims. Atop that was the framed likeness of a wolf, and above, on the sharpened point of the pole, was placed Peter Stubb's severed head. Oh my god. There may be no way of knowing for certain whether Peter Stubb was a covenant patsy for the authorities, which means a wolf or wolves really were responsible for the deaths, or he was a maniacal serial killer of the most abominable sort. So he's a guy that wore a wolf costume and killed people in it because he said it was the devil's belt that he gave him when he was 12. Seems legit. In any case, he was certainly not a shape-shifting werewolf, and George Bohr's account of how the hunters chased him down and found him transformed was invented to aid in Stubb's conviction and to reinforce the superstitions of his readers. There are no real werewolves, are there? What do you guys think? Tell me in the comments below. Are there real werewolves or no? The only one I've ever met is myself. But besides that, I don't know, I've seen some pretty hairy old men that look like they could pass as a werewolf, so maybe it is true after all. I don't know. What do you guys think? Also, I put like a bunch of glitter on my face before this video, because I always like to add a little bit of crazy makeup before I record. But yeah, this has been Vlogtober Day 6. Very superstitious. Tell me what you thought in the comments. Leave a like. And also, if you are not subscribed, just hit that red button down below. It says subscribe. Become a part of my cult. My werewolf cult. That's what I'm going to call it for now, because there's just a bunch of crazy werewolves here right now. Or I could call it my potato cult, because you guys are my potato fam. So yeah, I don't know. But thanks again to Sydney from Wonton Productions for telling me that I should make my own cult, because that is a fucking great idea and I love it, and I'm gonna use that, so props to him, yes. Alright, I'll see you in Vlogtober Day 7. The next video marks 1 week of Vlogtober. I cannot believe it. Goodbye.